We have begun recording. Take it away.
Well, hello again, everybody. I am Tim from Las Vegas.
And I'm Sam from the Pacific Northwest. Welcome.
Welcome. Yes, and here we are with another episode of the Western Contingent, talking about games and other topics. And how you had a good week, Sam?
Yeah, not a bad week. I mean, there was some rough patches with some interpersonal relationships, here in the but that's just what happens. But otherwise it's been a good week. Had my 51st birthday yesterday, so that was cool.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. We my wife and I did a live stream of Azul Duel. I picked it up based on your glowing recommendation.
And
I like it.
It's good, isn't it?
Pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Now we've only played like 1.5 games of it. We had to stop our first game that was basically just a learning game anyway, and then the live stream was our second go. So I think it might. I mean, my wife beat me, but she will probably tell you that she had no idea what she was doing most of the time, which is a lie. She can be shark-ish. Let's just put it that way. But I don't know. We scored low. I scored just over 50, something like 54, something like that. And then she scored, I think 71, 72, something like that. I was like, you get to the last round, and at least the way I was yesterday, I get to the last round like, oh, I'm not going to be able to finish anything.
Right.
Because I didn't plan well the other rounds. But only 5 rounds. It goes, turns are quick, pretty much. So there isn't a whole lot of downtime, and that's a good thing for a 2-player game. When it can go back and forth, and it's like a ping pong match. It's pretty cool. I like 2-player games that are like that. So that was fun yesterday. We did that, and then got a couple of cool gifts, and got to spend time with the family, and good days. Good times. What about you, bud? How have you been doing, sir?
I've been doing well, just getting stuff done, trying to get some spring cleaning around the house, getting stuff cleaned out, and cleaning out the warehouse as well. As a matter of fact, this weekend we're having a little thing up there. We have about 40 people, and we're selling some of our older games, and we're just playing games. But today, tomorrow, and Sunday, having a game weekend, a small group, and really looking forward to that. Playing some games.
Little mini con.
A little mini con. We want to do more things here in Vegas. And we do have space at the warehouse, once we start purging and cleaning, because it's funny. Games are like tribbles, I guess, from Star Trek or whatever. I mean, especially like, us, right? Being a convention. So we get like people donate games to us all the time. Publishers send us games, blah, 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 whatever. But they just pile up and pile up and pile up like out of nowhere. It's incredible.
They do. And now publishers are like running sales to try to offset some of these new tariffs that they're going to be facing. And I have a soft heart for that kind of stuff. So I'm buying more games than I usually do. So I just bought stuff like Arcane Wonders was doing a pretty hefty sale last month in April. And so I bought that. That came in. So I've got 4 brand new games that I just punched out yesterday. Let's see, I got 4 Gardens, Mobile Markets, Dice Manor, and Sherlock 13, which that's a small little game. But it's all stuff that is like, boy, you said it right, man. Their board games are triples, dude. That is the only, because it's like you walk out of a room and you come back and it's like, wait a minute, where'd these come from?
Yeah, I know. It does feel like that, and But again, and even back here, like you see behind me, there are games in shrink wrap I've never touched. So I'm going to be purging those two, getting rid of it. And at one point, I mean, I've told myself this for the past 3 or 4 years now, that I'm going to restart my collection with only games that I want to play. And I plan on doing that still. I mean, that, and what I mean by that is, this is just my personal opinion, right? Is that, we all have too many games, right? We do.
Yeah.
And I want to have a collection where if anybody comes over to my house and they're like, oh, wow, you have that game, let's play. You're right. Hey, let's pull up the shelf, let's play. I want to be excited about it. I don't ever want to be like, I'm not really in the mood, or nah, that game's not. No, like, why is it on your shelf then? Like, why do you have it in your life?
Yeah, I get that. I do agree with that. I do agree with that sentiment. It would be amazing to do that. But the problem, I think, the hitch, it's not really a problem, but the hitch in that idea is that not all games are for all people. So it's like when somebody says, "Ooh, that looks cool," and they're like drawn to the theme of the game, and I know the game is just like way too deep for them, or at least I think it is, because they don't play board games on a regular basis. And so I know that feels a little bit like it's like I'm gatekeeping, but I don't think it's that. I think I'm using like an informed knowledge about who that person is, and that's like throwing somebody into the deep end that doesn't
Yeah,
know how to
but
swim.
I think you're mixing up what I'm saying, Sam. I guarantee behind you, you could turn around right now and you could be like, yeah, why is that on my shelf? Yeah, why is that on my shelf? I'll never play that game again. I don't even really enjoy it.
Are
Right?
you throwing a gauntlet, sir?
Yeah, I mean, we all do, right? There are plenty of games on there that we all have in our collection that we just know it's okay. Like we have that kind of, it's an okay game, and
Yeah.
I'll play it. It's okay.
No, I
But
get you. Yeah,
yeah,
there is that. Yes. I
because,
absolutely agree with that. And I
because I do
usually
have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I usually do kind of keep some games that have a level of nostalgia. It's not just because I think the game deserves to be kept. There's just a level of nostalgia with the game that I look at the game and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I remember how I got that," or I remember the first time I played that and how much fun it was. And there's just, I don't know, nostalgia is the best word for me.
Oh no, I get that. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, though. We definitely have a glut of games in our homes. Most people do, and the ones that don't actively do what you're talking about doing.
Correct. Yes,
That's the long and the short of it.
yeah, and I know a lot of people who have like a limit, right?
Yeah.
And they'll say like 50 games in our
Mhm.
house, and they
Yep.
have like maybe one Kallax shelf or whatever, and they've
Yep.
just made a commitment that that's it.
Yep.
That if one comes in, one goes out.
One game
And
in, one game out. Yep.
yeah, and
That's exactly how it
yeah,
goes.
yeah, we should really just moderate more because again, like we just it's a major first world problem we have, right? Like
Very true.
a
Well,
major first world problem.
good luck with that,
Yeah,
because I'm not gonna tackle that anytime soon.
yes, I know. I know you said you got a Zool duel to the table, but what else did you
Yeah.
get for me?
Well, we got Azul Duel to the table. My wife and I actually took the time one day to learn both Azul Duel and King of Tokyo Duel.
Oh,
Um,
how was that?
that was actually interesting. It's basically kind of a you're still doing the same thing, rolling dice and Yahtzee style, and you're basically trying to roll the combination that you're looking for, and you've got three rolls to do it on your turn. But there's basically two markers on the board. There's a fame marker, which is like a blue star, and then there's a red like toppling skyscraper that is the damage or danger or something. I can't remember what they call it, but they're each on their own tracks, and you're basically playing tug of war with those two pieces. And the way you win is if you can get both of those pieces onto some areas on the board that are called spotlight areas on your side of the tracks, then you win. Or if you get one of those markers all the way over to your side, then you win. And then the third way that you can win is if you knock your opponent's monster out by doing enough damage to equal or exceed his hit points. But on top of that, whenever you play, the cards that they have in the game, the special power cards that they have in the game, um, whenever you play those, sometimes they'll have a little icon on them, and that means that there's this overlay that you can place onto one of the two tracks. So that when you move that piece over those different pieces of the interlay or overlay, you're going to get some special abilities. Possibly, not all of the spaces have special things in them, but it could be something like, you while you're or the turn that you move to this, you're going to do one extra damage, or the turn that you move onto this area, you're going to get an extra energy or something to that effect, or you get to heal one, whatever. So, in order to move those little tokens, you have to roll 3 stars. And anytime you roll 3 stars, you get to move one of those 2 tokens in the direction that you want it to go, which is generally speaking going to be towards your board edge. And each of the monsters have a special ability that they can do. Like, for example, the one that I've played so far, the penguin, the star penguin is what it was, I think. Whenever you roll exclamation marks, whenever you roll exclamation marks on the die, then you get to take an extra die token that you can use on a future turn. And I found that was pretty useful because rolling more dice in a dice game is always a cool thing. Anyway, I was skeptical, much like you were, with all of these different duel games that are coming out. And I was at a store a couple weeks ago when I was at a training class in Auburn, Washington. One of the nights we went to Kent, Washington. They have a store there called the Game Shelf, and right next to it, they had a Korean barbecue place.
I love me some
So
Korean barbecue.
we were going to go to this burger shop that was in the area, and then when we parked, I was like, "That's Korean barbecue. That's where we're going to eat." And my buddy, my coworker, was like, well, "Okay, I've never had that before." He's like from the hills up in Okanagan County. Like, dude's a country boy, and he ain't never had nothing but, like, cheeseburgers and rare steak or whatever. I don't, whatever. Anyway, so that was a treat. Anyway, we went to the Game Shelf, and I saw Azul Duel, remembered your recommendation, and then right next to Azul Duel was King of Tokyo Duel. And so I was like, all right, well, might as well jump in the deep end. But King of Tokyo Duel is actually pretty fun, and it's a lot more fun than playing regular King of Tokyo with just two players. So, I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it.
Oh, nice, not nice. Yeah, I was with Yellow for about 8 years, and I just always wondered why. Again, I don't really know how the relationships work between like the designer and the publisher.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was Richard Garfield's sort of lack of design, or it was the publisher. I mean, I don't know what happened in that relationship or whatever, but I just felt like why is why is King of Tokyo Duel coming out now? Or why did they wait so long? Because King of Tokyo was massive. It was huge.
Yeah.
And it just went so long with kind of nothing happening with that game.
Yeah.
I just think, and unfortunately, because it's still a great game, you know what I mean? Like, it's a game that is because, again, it's a fighting Yahtzee, basically, right? Yeah. And like a lot of people, I'm not going to say most people, but a lot of people just know Yahtzee. It's simple. You roll dice and things happen. So it's such a great concept, such a great game. So it's really good to see that that King of Tokyo Duel.
I would just imagine it probably has something to do with Richard Garfield being a prolific designer. But I don't know. I know that with publishers, And before I say this, I'm thinking ahead, and it's like I was going to say publishers like to just ride a wave, and if a wave kind of dies off a little bit and another one picks up, they're going to ride that wave for a little bit. And whether you get back to that other one that's still going, it's just not as big as this one, is, kind of neither here nor there. But as I was thinking ahead, and when I was about to say that, King of Tokyo was a pretty big freaking wave.
It was massive. It was huge.
Yeah. So
was,
I mean, I don't know. The only other thing that I could think of is that dual games just, I guess, weren't that popular back then.
No, they weren't. But I'm even talking about like with King of Tokyo. I mean, I'm even just talking
They're
about
done
a
more with the
deluxe,
game.
yeah, like a deluxeified version. Like
Sure.
that could have been done. Like I kept saying that. Like, why don't they have like 3D figures, right? Like of the
Sure.
like just make it like I don't. Anyway, that's a whole a topic for a whole nother day. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed King of Tokyo Duel.
Yep.
So I had a chance to play a couple of games this past week, and they are both older games. Well, older relatively. When we say older world games now,
13 months old, eh?
yeah, could be
Dust
like
it
4
off there, Tim.
Yeah, I know. So I had a chance to play two, so I'm not going to talk about them long. I'll just talk about them both real quick. Yokohama, I played, and I haven't played that. Like I played it like right soon after it came out. It's maybe about 10 years old, I think, or something like that.
Sure.
But it's what a good game. It's such a good game. I'm, when this happens, I always say to myself, oh, why have I not played this? Why did I wait so long? Why? Because again, right? Like we get caught up. Like we're so fortunate. Again, we see this so many times in our hobby with all of these great games coming out, and we just kind of put these other things aside. But again, so what I did, it's like I said, we got so many games in the warehouse. I went, found the TMG special edition copy, got it, because we were and I took it home, and I'm like, so that's now in my collection. Yokohama, fantastic game, just really good. And then the other game was one of my pandemic games. I had a small little bubble with me and two other friends. We played it like 8-9 times in a row. We played PAX Premier, Gaia Project, and this other one, Barrage, like 9 times, 8 times. In Barrage, we played with like all but one of the modules or expansions, so like everything.
Yeah.
I just love that game. That is one of my top games of all time. I love it. It's and what was so exciting, this has probably happened to you a lot, Sam. What is so exciting, I had that feeling where I remember when I first learned Barrage, I was like, ooh, something's not clicking. Like there's this puzzle there. I can't quite grok it. I can't understand it. Yeah. The same thing happened again, because it's been, like 4 years since I've even touched the game or whatever.
Right.
The same thing happened, this has been out of my mind. And I'm like, okay, wait, I don't quite understand what the water is yours. You can use the thing or whatever, but you have to power it. And then about 3/4 through the game, I'm like, oh, you just get that great feeling. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's coming back again. Oh, this is why I love the game. So yeah, it's Barrage is just brilliant. I just love that game.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually had the expansions for Barrage. When I looked at their spreadsheet, I thought it was a standalone game, but then when it came in the box, it was just the expansions without the core, without the base. And so I was like, well, I guess can't do anything about that because I didn't have the game, and they're not going to send me Barrage out of the library just so that I can do the review for the expansions. So that was my bad, but I haven't played Barrage in many years, probably going back to when it first came out, probably. But so yeah, well, that's cool. It's experiencing a little bit of a resurgence, it feels like now, because I've gone to a number of different like when I was at Dice Tower West, more than a couple of people said that they were playing Barrage. And then I just went to a smaller local like weekend retreat, board gaming retreat, and a couple of people were playing Barrage there too. So I don't know why. Did they just come out with something new for it?
They did, and I don't know if it's real new, but I knew they do have a 2-player sort of version of it.
Oh,
yes, and so I haven't played that yet, but my friend told me about it, so I'm really looking forward to that. And again, it's just what happens is I think part of the resurgence, and again, I just don't know. This is just my speculation of what you're talking about. Is kind of what I was alluding to before. We talk about several times in our conversations. Is that there's so many good things and we forget about them, and I think more and more people are becoming. I don't know the term I'm thinking of, Sam. Like self-aware about their gaming and be like, wow, I am getting caught up in the cult of the new. I am playing too much of. I do have FOMO or this or that. You know what? I should go back and look at these old games. Like I should. And that could be it, right? I think people are maybe having an awakening and be like, wow, let me slow down a little bit. I don't always need the first hottest blah blah. There's so let's go visit that. But the other thing about barrage, and I so dislike this term, and Tom uses it all the time, and we have discussions about it all the time. He uses that term mean game. And I just dislike that term so much. I just not at all. But it is a what I call what's the term I use? Something player interaction. Aggressive. It's aggressive player interaction. There you go. It's not mean.
It's so semantical, dude. It's not mean. It's aggressive. Okay.
Aggressive player interaction. So you may, if you don't like those type of games, you will not like Barrage at all.
You know what that means, Tim?
All. No,
you know what that means? It means it's a mean game, Tim.
It's not. It just can be very aggressive.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good. I don't think I talked about this with you yet. So the other game I'd like to talk about was Let's Go to Japan.
Oh,
I played this a couple of
I think you did talk about that.
If I've already talked about it, you guys just gonna have to endure for a little bit. But it's a really neat, really fun game, and I've only played it twice. I don't own the game, so I'm kind of reliant upon other people having it and bringing it. And we had a buddy of ours that came over from the west side of the mountains to Steamers West for our game night, and he brought it with him. And he had the like totally all-in deluxeified version from the Kickstarter that because his wife is Japanese and they've spent a lot of time in Japan. And so a lot of the things that are on the cards in the game are things that he has actually done or places that he has actually gone to. So he purchased the game based on a hopeful nostalgia factor that it would give him as he played the game. But he said after he got it and started playing it, he says it's less nostalgia about the trip and more just remembering how hard it was to plan the trip. So he was like, he said he still likes it and he's not disappointed that he bought it. But that was just kind of a shortfall for him. But it's a really fun game, just kind of like a tableau builder where it's kind of like 10 Days in Asia, but on steroids, because you're not just planning, I'm going here for this day, this day, this day. You're actually going to like 3 up to 4 different locations, really, on each day of a 7-day week, and you have all those cards that you're kind of slotting in. And you have to make sure that you've got train tickets to go from Tokyo to Kyoto. Sorry. So you have to make sure if you have cards going from that are in Kyoto, and then you have the next day, or even in the same day, you have cards that are in Tokyo. You have to have a train card so you can go between those two things. And if you don't, it's minus points at the end of the game. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. I'm not going to seek to explain all of it, but it's really, really an enjoyable game. And this is one of those times where I think the deluxe version of the game really helps aesthetically. He had the player mats, which were cool, which you don't need. The boards are really good that come in the base game. But he also had these little ornate token bowls that were just really nice. It was just a lot of good stuff about it. So that's kind of high on my radar right now. It's really fun game. Let's Go to Japan. Really enjoy it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of not a lot of time. I mean, since it came out, it's just been sort of constantly having a buzz about it.
Yeah.
and people have been saying great things about it, and that's definitely on my radar. That if I ever have the chance, if somebody says sit down and play this, or I see it available, I'll definitely sit down and play. I want to give that a try for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. That's good.
So one of the things I want to talk about, Sam, it's just kind of that comes up a lot, especially because of the genre of games I like. Fully cooperative games with interaction and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is the term rules lawyering? Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard that term plenty of times. And there is sort of a big negative connotation towards it.
Yep.
When people say it, I mean, I don't think anybody ever called somebody a rules lawyer and meant it as a compliment, right? I mean, I think it's a pejorative, right? I mean, it's yeah. But I wonder about the usage, because in the reason why I wanted to bring this up for me in particular is like the games I like are the cooperative games with sort of limited communication or hidden information. So you're not supposed to even make like, make like if somebody does something in one of these kind of games, you're like, I mean, that's communication, right? So if I say, hey, you're really not supposed to do that, people will tell me, oh, you're being a rules lawyer. And I'm like, well, but those are the rules. I mean, you're not supposed to communicate. And what you're doing by gesturing and making noises is communicating. And that's quote unquote cheating or gaming the game, or however you want to put it. So it's been directed to me quite a bit sometimes when for those reasons. But is there a positive thing, or just generally? So what are your thoughts about like the term rules lawyer?
Well, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I guess I'll start off with saying that I agree with you that I think the term is used far too loosely, and unfortunately, I think it does have a very negative connotation to it. When somebody calls you a rules lawyer, they're not giving you a compliment more often than not. They're saying, in effect, you need to lighten up a little bit. And I just, I can't, when you're talking about playing a game the way it was designed, it's important to follow the rules. Now, in your situation, what you were talking about with cooperative games and limitations on communication and that kind of stuff, I think a lot of people don't realize how often they communicate without words.
Correct.
When a rule tells them you can't communicate, they think, okay, I can't talk to other people. And that's definitely part of it, but it's not all of it. I was a speech minor in college, and one of the things that they would absolutely harp and drone on is how you communicate with your body language, not just your voice.
Yep.
Your facial expressions, your gestures, there are so many different ways. Your breathing can actually communicate different things. There's so many different ways that you actually communicate with people. And I think the rule books that do it the best as far as explaining what they mean by limited communication are those ones that kind of delineate exactly what you mean. The problem with that then for us is if we follow those rules, somebody, because they don't want to follow those rules, will label us, you, a rules lawyer. And that's unfair, because when you do something that has a set of rules that's been designed by a person or a group of people and edited, you need to give, in my opinion at least, you need to give that rule book, that document, its fair shake. There's probably a reason why they said no communications. One of my favorite cooperative games is I just dropped the Art Project. And the reason I like the Art Project so much is because it does have seemingly innocuous limitations on communication. Basically, what it says is that it says that you can explain what is on your card, but you just can't show it to somebody. And the reason they do that, and they state it very specifically, is that we don't want alpha players to be a problem with the game. And so
Right.
if you don't show them your cards, it's very hard for an alpha player to just basically figure out the puzzle in their head and then tell everybody what to do so that we can figure out this puzzle together, And it's like, so communication limitations in that game is very important because it staves off the alpha players.
Right.
That's important. That's
It
an
is
important
important.
thing. And I think it can often be those people who are inclined to be alpha players. Well, that's a stupid rule.
No, you have a point there, Sam, and that may be the case because I've even been accused of being called not fun. Like, because if people like, like if we're playing like one of those kind of games, and all of a sudden somebody goes, oh, 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 and I'll be like, oh, come on, man, stop that. Oh,
Yeah.
You just don't like to have fun. No, you are essentially out being an alpha player because by what you may think is not direct communication, but by going, you are directing the game of play.
Yeah.
You are telling that person they are making a mistake or not doing something. So you are alpha gaming the game. And I think you had mentioned the term before about poker face, right? You need to maintain a poker face and you need the other players to make their decisions and do their things without any sort of overt influence coming from you.
Trick-taking games. What is it called? When you have team trick-taking games, what is it called when your teammate is table talk, right? You're not supposed to do that in trick-taking games either. You're not supposed to do that either. So it's like, this is not a new concept as far as limited communication is concerned. But I also don't want to get hung up on just that, because I think being a rules lawyer, and this is where I'm going to kind of slide into the positive side of the discussion, being a rules lawyer has a ton of benefits.
Okay.
If you wield your power in the right way. For example, my buddy JD here on the channel on the Flipside, I would consider him a rules lawyer. And the reason I say that is not because I think he doesn't enjoy fun. It's not because of this or that or whatever negative connotation you want to put to it. This dude can grok and absorb rules and interpret them the way that they were supposed to be interpreted in a very supernatural way. And that's what I mean when I call him a rules lawyer. If he's teaching the game, I have 99% confidence that we're playing the game the way it was meant to be played. It doesn't mean that he doesn't make mistakes, because he does, and we all do. But generally speaking, if he teaches us how to play a game, we're learning how to play the game properly. And that, to me, is what I think would be, or should be, rather, the usage of this term rules lawyer, because the word lawyer, right? Yeah. Everybody hates lawyers until you need one, right? And then they are your best buddy in the world because they're going to protect your best interests, generally speaking, so forth and so on. So it's that word lawyer, I think. It's not so much the fact that people don't want to play by the rules. It's that they don't want to feel like, or they don't want to be made to feel like they don't know the rules. And they thought the way that they're playing is the proper way. I don't know. There's a lot of assumptions being made there, but I think. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, but I mean, again, I've just never heard anybody use it in a positive sense. Like,
no, it is. I don't think it is.
And I think, again, the kind where I think it is sort of deserved to be called a rules lawyer in sort of a negative sense is what I call this term. I play with this one group, and they use this term retcon a lot. We talked about it before. Guys learned that term. Yeah. And we've talked about this about like a minor piece of resource or something you forgot. Okay.
Yep.
It's my turn. Blah 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 blah. Now all of a sudden it's your turn. Halfway through your turn, if I go, oh, hey guys, listen, I'm sorry. Remember, I had this ability over here. I was supposed to get an extra 2 stone, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Is that okay? And if somebody goes up, nope, your turn's over. Now, because that's a rules lawyer. Because in that sense, like when I use it for my cooperative games, it's because that's to me the essence of the game, following the rules of the game. But doing it in that sense, oh nope, your turn is over. Now you're destroying sort of the fun. And that's where like the bad part of the lawyer comes in and calling somebody that, because yes, you are correct. The turn was over. That's what the rules say. However, come on, like that.
Come on, man. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly where I'm going. It's like, there is a line that is crossed whenever you're talking about this idea of somebody being a rules lawyer. And at some point, whenever we talk about being a rules lawyer, we usually, or at least I have usually ventured into the idea of, well, are we playing the game according to the written rules or the spirit of the rules? Because some rule sets are purposefully ambiguous at some points, and I don't know exactly why. Maybe it just didn't come up until very late in playtesting, and because they can't account for every possible occurrence
correct, yeah,
that's in the game. Right. So rule books aren't going to mention every single thing that could possibly happen or that did come up during playtesting. If it came up 1% of the time, they're probably not going to take real estate in the rule book to address that one thing, because the likelihood of it coming up again is low. If it came up 95% of the time, sure, that's probably going to go on an FAQ page at the back of the book or something to that effect. But generally speaking, once you've played through a game or you're halfway through the game, you kind of understand how the game is supposed to work and what they were trying to do.
Well, Sam, speak for yourself, because sometimes it takes me a lot longer.
No, listen, you don't know everything. You don't know how to do everything.
Right.
You get the general idea of what they were trying to do and how they were trying to do it. And so I don't know. For me, if the rule book is silent about something, because a lot of people will say, well, if the rules don't say that I can't do it, that means that I can do it. And that's not necessarily the case either, especially if it's egregiously breaking the spirit of the game. So sometimes with me, I'm if we come to a point where the rules lawyerism is failing us, I will err on the side of the spirit of the game. And sometimes that has worked well. That has settled disputes. And really, frankly, we also have gotten down to the point where, especially if the game has dice in it, just dice it. If we can't find a definitive answer within the rules, and we don't want to take time, because let's be honest, we can probably go find a thread about it on BGG at this point. But we don't want to necessarily take the time to do all of that. Just dice it, because at the end of the day, it's just a game, right?
Yeah, right. But Sam, I was just going to say that I'm glad you brought that up, because again, it goes back to something we talk about ad nauseum on this show about the social contract, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times the people who may be the rules lawyers saying, oh, nope, your turn is over, you can't get that, are the ones who aren't within the same social contract that I'm in when I sat down, right? We haven't agreed to anything. We haven't signed any papers, right? You know what I mean? However, their idea of fun or the enjoyment or whatever is to win the game, to destroy, follow rules, blah, blah, blah. So we are on different sort of
wavelengths.
What's that?
Different wavelengths.
Correct. As far as what we're doing there together at that moment. So that may just be part of their sort of maybe persona or how they play games, because their intent, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If that's how you like to play games, that's how you like to play. I just don't. But their enjoyment or how they like to play games, strict, by the rules, follow this. When your turn is over, it's over, blah, 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 blah. So sometimes they're going to be the real rules lawyer because it's kind of like, I know the game really well and I know all the rules and I'm going to win because I'm following the rules and you have to also.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to expect me to follow all those rules, you better tell me all those rules and you better not forget anything because, I'm not here. I don't play games to pad other people's egos, and I definitely don't play games to pad my egos either. I don't play games to make myself feel better about myself, and I'm not going to play games to help you feel better about yourself either. That's just not fair to you. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to anybody else at the table. So that whole idea and that is a problem in my opinion. People that sit down to play a game and sometimes you just get the sense they held that back on purpose.
Perhaps. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They held that little bit of information back on purpose because that's what they were going to exploit and they didn't want us to exploit it first. I don't know that really happens. I know that I have forgotten rules. And it's just something that's in the back of my mind. And as I'm teaching the game, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm talking about round structure and player turn structure and this and that. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot that. And I'm about to super do well at it. And I'm like, well, dang it. Now, and what I've done is now I don't do that. I explain that it is, hey, look, I forgot something. This is what it is. And then I don't do that thing because I don't want it to look like I conveniently forgot about it at the beginning of the game. So if you're going to be teaching games, if you're going to sit in the seat of the rules lawyer, because frankly, that's what the teacher should be. The teacher should be on the spectrum of being a rules lawyer because you need to know your stuff. If a question comes up and you don't know, you need to be humble enough. I don't know. Don't make something up.
Right.
But at least be familiar enough with the rules and the rule book so that if you don't know the rule right off the top of your head, boom, 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 you can flip right to it and get the question answered. I'm horrible at that. Usually, I mean, it's a conspiracy. I think whenever I'm trying to find the answer to a rule in a rule book, I think it magically eludes me because I will turn to the page where I'm pretty sure that is, and it was 5 pages away, and I'm like, you stinking rules. Anyway, it's just, I think coming back to a head, I think all my rabbit holes are done. I think that there is a definite dichotomy to the idea of being a rules lawyer. I think there is definitely a negative side, and I think that that is or can be warranted to use that word or that phrase in a negative way to send the message that, hey, lighten up a little bit. But I think it needs to be not overused. And I think if we start using it in a more positive way as to say, this is my rules lawyer. And again, I've never called JT a rules lawyer because it carries with it that negative connotation. But this dude knows his stuff. So he is our rule book, generally speaking. Let's do whatever he says. And I will happily do that. If somebody sits down and says, this is my favorite game of all time, I will not ask for the rule book.
Right.
Unless, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, who I like to call rules lawyers is actual lawyers who play the game. Because since that is part of their job, and who's really good at this is Janet Moon, Alan Moon's wife.
Yeah.
He is, and I say this with the utmost respect and positiveness, because I've played maybe 3, 4, 5 games with her or whatever, but she, like you're saying, she can pick up a rule book and find it so easily because she's a lawyer, right? She just has this ability. So I'd be like, oh, wait, hold on a second. Let's just give it to the rules lawyer. Let her look it up because she'll find it and she'll know it. She'll be able to comprehend it and understand it. And I envy that, right? Because we talk, I can't read and comprehend rules. I need to play the game, touch it, move it, do it. then I love going back and reading the rule book, because now I'm like, oh, now
it all makes sense.
Yes, now it makes sense. But she is just incredible. So like I say that to her a lot. I'm like, oh no, let's give it to the rules lawyer, because she's so good at it.
That's great. That's great.
So anyway, it's just another one of those interesting things. Again, like we've talked about before, please in the comments let us know what you think about the term rules lawyer. If you think it's a positive thing, if you think it's a negative thing, if you've used it, if you've been accused of being a rules lawyer.
We're gonna have to pull out the couch, Sigmund. I mean, to tell you. Yeah. We're going to get a lot of couch moments here in just a few moments.
Yeah. But again, it's one of those kind of things that, just try to have fun at the end of the day with the game and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Sam, it's been wonderful as usual.
Yeah.
Talking, seeing, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm glad everything's going well with you there. And I hope, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, whatever the interpersonal relationships, sort of issues and stuff you're having, I hope it all gets resolved, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. God is in control. I'm fine. Everything is on course. Good. But, it still just happens. That's the way it goes.
Yes. Life, we can't avoid life happening, right? Life does happen.
You got that right.
That is for sure. All right, man. Well, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will definitely be seeing you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Take it easy, folks.
Well, I am Timm in Las Vegas. We will see you next week.
On the flip side. No, it'll be right here on the Dice Tower.
All right. Take care, Sam. Bye, everybody.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.